Hello everyone, RFG here with a review for 30 Birds, a puzzle adventure game developed by RAM Games and Business Goose Studios, with publishing by ARTE France, available on Steam. Inspired largely by Persian art and mythology, you will take control of the detective Zig as you solve puzzles in the mix of the 2D and 3D environments of Lantern City. To free Simurgh, the residing bird goddess, recently captured by the scientists with the help of the 30 birds you'll gradually meet on your journey. Acquainting yourself with these birds isn't all that simple. Hoop is the first you'll team up with and will be guiding you along for most of your time in Lantern City, but others will usually have alternate methods for you to earn their friend request. Some may join you just by finding and informing them that Simurgh has been birdnapped, but it may be difficult to find them in the first place as they can be scattered around the locations you'll visit. 30 Birds, at its heart, is an adventure game. While you're looking to make allies with the birds, you'll be exploring several themed hubs like the Central and Park Lanterns. The hubs are large enough on their own, but within them are several sub-areas. These mostly have less space to explore, but usually end up being important to search through. Often there'll be tight spaces that you move around horizontally, where you'll interact with characters much like in the main hubs, but these areas are usually accessed near the end of questlines where you'll befriend new birds. As a reminder, only some birds are fine with joining you after you mention Simurgh. Others will need more convincing in their part of a quest by solving puzzles. Puzzles aren't uniform. While the first few you'll encounter even before you meet Hoop may hint at a central theme like instruments and music, the controls for many of them are what follows a minor pattern. Grab hold of part of a device, move it along a meter to determine its value or function, and try to do the same for other parts until the puzzle is fully solved. But that's just for a fraction of the ones you'll encounter. Some puzzles are more about exploration through maze-like paths, or where your navigation determines how the environment reacts and how you're meant to advance. Others are logic-based that require you to pay attention to what's happening in the environment, while others require a keen eye to make and match logical visual connections. Puzzles are ultimately completed to help you make more bird acquaintances, but sometimes they're only parts of a larger questline. Some of these questlines may have you play tiles along the way. While it's not exactly a puzzle itself, Tiles is a sort of card game that pits you against an opponent where you have to smash away your set of 3 tiles against theirs. The rules aren't too complicated, and there is strategy involved, but it's also a good example of how progression is handled in 30 Birds. Playing tiles requires a wager to be made. You'll be able to collect a variety of items in the game that can be wagered in tiles, or have other uses in-game. Although it sounds risky to be able to lose an item that has multiple uses, important items usually have multiple ways to procure more of them, whether it's by trade or respawns. 30 Birds isn't a very large game, but it is pretty open. After the game's introductory sequence, you'll be directly thrown into the Central Lantern, but you'll gain access to 3 out of the 4 main Lantern City hubs through trains quick enough. Most quests don't often veer from one hub to another, but some may require progress from certain quests to be completed, or certain birds to be found so you can advance in others. If you do get stuck, due to the open nature, there's usually a character somewhere around that may be able to provide you a hint, and sometimes there's a clue in the environment itself. Your phone menu could also help if you're not sure if you're missing something. As you steadily make your way through the game, more menu options will open. Your quest menu shows you quests that you've completed and the current step and ones that are currently in progress. The map menu shows you the 4 main Lantern City hubs, and selecting one individually will show you their sub-areas. The maps don't go into incredible detail, but they do let you know of sub-areas you haven't visited. If you go into the Birds menu, you can see how many in total you have befriended so far. There are other menu options like the inventory menu, which has its uses, but most of the others don't provide much benefit. Overall, 30 Birds does a good job of balancing its exploration element with the size of its main hubs and sub-areas. Being able to view which areas you haven't been to via the map, seeing what quests are still active, and how many birds you've met should help you maintain progression. There's also something about having a puzzle thrown at you, and being able to just figure it out for yourself that's gratifying in its own way. That being said, I think it would be nice for some puzzles to have an option to remind you of what you're supposed to do to solve them, like the characters will describe before you start them. And even though you have the quest menu to help you keep you on track, it would be nice to be able to view the previous steps you completed in a quest, so you don't have to backtrack or revisit characters you've already spoken to as part of the quest. Visually, this is one of my favorite uses of combined 2D and 3D graphics that I've seen this year. From the opening cutscenes to the end of the game, the 2D art seems to be the overall focus, and the use of 3D spaces and assets feels like they're genuinely there to accentuate that. Whenever you're rounding the corner of an area, or going from one lantern or area to another, the quick pan of the surrounding 3D environment is a wonder to see on how everything in the hub relates to each other. The Persian and other Middle Eastern inspired themes are there visually, and there's a kind of mystical wind chime-like sound that's audible when approaching the edge of an area, but the music takes more inspiration from ska, dub, and reggae. Yet they all work well together. There are some weird moments with no music sometimes where it seems like a background track is missing, but when the music is there, it does sound good. The story is a bit more consistent in how it's presented. There is a general relaxed tone even with the search for Simurgh, but it's packed with a lot of humor, especially between Zig and Hoop and the other birds. There are some darker moments, but these are usually played for laughs, and your goal of finding Simurgh is usually acknowledged when meeting a new bird. If you're not stuck anywhere, you'll find the pacing to be pretty consistent. The length of the game isn't too long, but the story itself feels complete at its end. You do have some drawings that you can collect along the way, but your time is mostly spent on finding the other birds and freeing Simurgh. 30 Bird's approach to exploration and puzzles are both satisfying in their own ways. It provides a lighthearted puzzle adventure that's not hand-holding your way to completion and stacks out on top of a superb aesthetic. It's not perfect, but I found it appealing that the game lets you attempt to figure things out on your own instead of immediately presenting you with solutions. If that grabs your attention, then I definitely recommend checking out their store page. But that's it for me. Let me know what you think below. Thanks. Bye.